We are here at the NBC to discuss on some election program. First of all, we want to tell the people of Papua New Guinea that we are progressing preparations and we are here to announce that we are running elections 2022. And so many things happen before elections. We do preparations. And so as far as Electoral Commission is aware, we are preparing and looking positive about our preparations in here. And so with that, awareness must go first to the people, and we want to let our people in the country know that election is going to be conducted. And as part of the awareness program, we got NBC helping us to do the awareness. And we want to tell the people using this opportunity to advise all of us that we are going to go into election. As we all know, in the elections, there is many things happens in a process. So the first thing is awareness, so we're conducting awareness. The next practical thing that happens in every election is the nomination. Awareness to candidates, and candidates get nominated, and Electoral Commission prepares all the logistics and necessary preparations to be done. And so, as for us, as the Deputy and I here, we have come here to advise the public that we are now prepared to run elections. So, according to the dates that we have set 28 April 2022 is the election date for the issue of writ. And on the 5th, we are going to close the nominations. As soon as the writ is issued, we are going to accept nominations. So as by way of this awareness, I thank all of you for the whim inviting us to inform about the process of candidate nomination for the 2022 national elections. And this session, we are going to discuss about basic information about the nomination process and the forms and those documents that are involved and the candidate as to what to do in the process of nomination. The PNG Electoral Commission, as a nomination process is, as many of us, you listeners know, and all of us are aware that Papua New Guinea Electoral Commission is the electoral authority under the Constitution. And it is tasked with organizing and conducting of all elections of the National Parliament and the local level government council elections. And part of this is the process of nomination of the candidates, which is the first official activity that happens in the election cycle. And it's very important because without candidates, there can be no elections. Start of the election period is the national elections are held every 5 years, and the Electoral Commission is making preparations for the 2022 national election. The issue of which will signal the start of the election period for the 2022 elections. The Governor General, on the advice from Electoral Commission, is expected to issue the writs on the 28th of April this year and this month, which is this month. The day the writs are issued is the day when the nomination period starts. And so, which runs for a 7-day period. It's 1 week. And the start of nomination will be at 4 p.m. on the 28th of April. And intending candidates can submit their nomination documents to the office of the returning officer and the provincial returning officers. The deadline to nominate is 4 p.m. On Thursday, 5th May 2022. This period cannot be extended, and it's by law. So some of the important areas of responsibility that the nomination process is important because no person is qualified to be elected as a member of the parliament unless he or she has been duly nominated and the nomination is accepted by the Electoral Commission. Who can nominate? Nomination qualifications. Who is qualified to nominate? To qualify to nominate for elections as a member of parliament is a person who must have been a citizen of Papua New Guinea and over the age of 25 years or older, and have been either born in the electorate they wish to nominate or have lived in the electorate for which they wish to nominate for the last 2 years immediately before the nomination, and have lived in the electorate for the last 5 years or more at any one time, and they must also have the right to vote or run as a candidate under the Constitution. In addition, a person must not be disqualified. This means that they must not hold dual citizens. I said it again. In addition, a person must not be disqualified if they have these situations like. This means they must not hold dual citizenship, not be of unsound mind, and not be insolvent, or not under sentence of death or for imprisonment of more than 9 months, unless an appeal is pending. And in addition, under the Constitution and the electoral law, they also must not have been convicted under any law of an indicative offense committed after the 25th of June, 2002. Not have been convicted under the electoral law on regulations where the penalty imposed includes ineligibility to hold elective office, or not have been disqualified for election to public office because of dismissal from office under the Leadership Code in the last 3 years, and not have been convicted in the previous 3 years from the date of the start of polling period of a prescribed offense relating to elections. For example, if any intending candidate is less than 25 years of age on the date of nomination, then he or she cannot nominate. For example, another example is if an intending candidate is on parole or from a sentence of imprisonment that was for more than 9 months, then he or she cannot nominate. How to nominate? If you want to contest the elections, must all the qualifications and do not have any of the disqualifications. You must be nominated first. Intending candidates for the provincial seat must submit their nominations to the provincial returning officer for that province, while intending candidates for open seats must submit their nominations to the returning officer of that electorate or open electorate. Nominations cannot be submitted to PNGEC headquarters or any other person for that matter. The intending candidate must also pay the nomination fee of 1,000 kina via the Bank of South Pacific to the PNGEC trust account. And after paying the nomination, you bring the receipt with the nomination documents to file your nomination fee. Intending candidates must complete all the nomination forms and other relevant documents which must be submitted to the returning officer or provincial returning officer within the nomination period. Nominations cannot be accepted after 4 p.m., the nomination hour, on the 5th of May, 2022. I want to repeat this one. Nomination opened at 4 o'clock on 28 April, and nomination closes on the 5th of May, and that is at 4 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, not 5 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock p.m. and the nomination must be paid or file nominations before that hour. Nomination forms and documents that must be submitted are the following forms and documents must be submitted and completed and submitted by intending candidates to the returning officer, respective returning officer or the provincial returning officer of the provincial seat and the open electorate. 1, Form 29 is the candidate information. This form captures the personal particulars of candidates and can be provided to the Electoral Commission before the nomination period, but can also be provided with Form 23 during the time of filing the nomination. Number 2, Form 23 is the nomination of candidate for election as member of National Parliament. This is the nomination form itself. The intending candidate must carefully read this form. Make sure that all of the required information is supplied and sign the form. And number 3, if an intending candidate is endorsed by a political party, he or she must also submit Form 30, which is the political party information. Number 4, all of these forms are available from the Office of the Returning Officer or the Electoral Commission office in the province or at the Electoral Commission headquarters. So these forms, they go together and you file them. In addition to the nomination forms, intending candidates must submit the following to the returning officer or provincial returning officers. 1, the official passport size photo. The official original receipt of payment of nomination fee. The nomination fee must be paid via the Bank of South Pacific Bank, and a receipt of that deposit. And 2, passport size photo. Passport size photo with a plain background, endorsed on the back with the candidate's name and the electorate. If endorsed by a political party, their party affiliation. Failure to supply a photograph with those informations and the ground is rejecting nominations, but it means that a photo of the candidate will not appear on the candidate poster for the nominations or for the elections. Okay, one thing I want to remind all of us, there will be no cash payments at the time for filing nominations. We will only receive receipts of the deposit slip or the bank deposit receipt. Intending candidates and independent candidates who are not endorsed by a political party will be listed as independent on the candidate poster. It is also necessary that each intending candidate brings a witness with them at the time of submitting the nomination forms and documents. Now we deal with cross-cutting issues according to the elections and the country we're in. That's about the COVID-19 that is affecting the country. So the information that the Electoral Commission thinks about and discuss and see the way forward is about intending candidates and the supporters must follow the COVID-19 nuclear passing protocols or rules, such as maintaining the social distancing and wearing masks and sanitizing your hands. Those are some of the things that we must do during the election process and those requirements that we discuss for your information. And this is the first, so we will continue. By way of our closing remarks, again, to emphasize, the electoral period starts when the writ for the national election is issued by the Governor General, which is 28 April 2022. It is also the start time of the nomination period. So the writ is expected to be issued on that date and at 4 o'clock, 28 at 4 o'clock, 28 April, 4 o'clock, which is this month. We get 3 weeks away. If you are an intending candidate, you must submit your nomination documents within the nomination period, which is from 4 p.m. on 28th of April 2022 to 4 p.m. on the 5th of May 2022. If you fail to submit your nomination forms during this period, then you cannot contest a seat in Parliament. It is important that all persons intending to nominate know this period and the requirements to nominate. Women and men who want to contest the elections are encouraged to nominate if they are eligible as per the legal framework or legal requirements. The success of any election lies with the meaningful participation of all stakeholders, particularly the candidates, either as independent or as a member of a political party. Meaningful participation can only be possible if you know your electoral rights and obligations. You have the right to contest in an election for a member of Parliament if you have all the qualifications and are not disqualified. At the same time, you have the obligation to know the time frame, procedure, and the requirements for nominations. All accepted candidates will be expected to adhere to the laws and regulations guiding elections and to maintain a proper code of conduct to protect the integrity of the election process. More information about nomination process is available on the Electoral Commission's Facebook page, and you can also contact your local provincial electoral office and the returning officer's office in the districts and LGs. Over the next few radio programs, our colleagues and the Team Electoral Commission and I will provide more information on the candidate nomination process and other activities that as we start with the nomination today, as well as information on campaigning and do's and don'ts of the election process. With that, I thank you all for listening. This is the first. We will continue to repeat the information for those people, those who are intending to contest and the supporters and the political parties, to making sure that these rules are strictly followed so you don't get disappointed or upset at the end of the day when you are rejected of any disqualifications or jumping the processes. So this is the first time, and if you are not too sure, call around to Electoral Office, Electoral Commission headquarters in Moresby, and get more information. So we will now open up for discussions, questions, and so clarify some more information that needs to be said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Nomination for one person to nominate in many electorates is no. People cannot nominate for two electorates. But the residential qualification allows for them to, as we said, 5 years, 2 years consecutively living in a place where, like people live in Moresby, they might want to go home and contest at home. That is covered by law. But they cannot nominate here in Moresby for Moresby Northwest, and you go home and nominate for West New Britain or Thalassia. Yeah.
Commissioner, this is a reality. This is a candidate nominate in 3 electorates. I'm Stablong Lay, but this person was a rugby player, a Sikau worker, and a teacher, and originally from Anglim Satwagi, but then contesting with triple electorate. But then that was the scenario that it would have. But as we talk by law, no, you cannot nominate in more than one electorate. Now, if a candidate changes his mind and he wants to go and nominate in another electorate, is that possible? Bellow, is it possible? Is it possible? John?
Yes, a candidate can do that as long as it's within the nomination period. So if it's within the nomination period from the 28th of April to the 5th of May, yes, a candidate can change his mind to contest, as long as he qualifies in whatever electorate he may choose.
What would be the process? He just takes his name off and...
For the first electorate he's nominated in, he needs to withdraw his nomination. So the process there is, he has to submit his details to the returning officer of the first electorate he nominated in. And by that I mean filling in the Form 26. And then he has to also make sure he is there in the presence of the returning officer when he's doing that. And then he can withdraw, but then he has to find his way to whichever electorate he is trying to contest in, and to do that before the 5th of May.
Okay, if that candidate is, if a candidate is in nominated in an electorate where, is it possible for him to nominate in an electorate that is not enrolled?
There are candidates like who live in Port Moresby and who may return to their home, their province of birth, for example. Someone may travel from Port Moresby to Manus, and he's not on the roll in Manus, but he's on the roll in Port Moresby, but he's a candidate. There are provisions in the law that allows them to register at the time of nomination. So we will enter them into the voter roll for that particular ward, the village they come from, and they will fill their nomination form, and they are eligible to nominate and cast their vote as well.
Now, if I pay my 1,000 candidate fee to nominate, and if I decided to withdraw, can I do that? And is there a process that one money will get 1,000 kina? Commissioner.
1,000 kina your withdrawal will have to be within the nomination period. You show your declining of nominations again to file a, say I'm not interested in the nominations. So as a general rule, once a nomination is accepted and the period is ended, the nomination fee cannot be refunded as soon as possible. But if you want a refund, you will have to refund, say, within the nomination period. Yeah.
Commissioner, the guidelines that made eligible for me to be a candidate and to nominate. Can community, can person questions the eligibility for a person as a candidate in a public questioning?
Like the commissioner said, every citizen, they have a right for nomination to contest in any election in the country. There are criteria that will exclude you. Now, if there are issues with you as a candidate, and we have sufficient information to disallow, there are mechanisms we are putting in place now, like, for example, having the police check you out. That's one mechanism. Or have the Attorney General make an assessment of the claim. So yes, we will accept public information, but they are subject to processes, because we do not want to restrict any citizen from contesting the election. I mean, that's the right under Section 50 of the Constitution. If you understand for public office, you are a citizen, you can do that. So we need to do those checks very quickly within the nomination period, and then the decision can be made then by the commissioner to accept the nomination or reject the nomination, but there must be sufficient evidence available to us to make that decision.
So what you're saying is that, commissioner or deputy commissioner or the law that you have, that you can reject a candidate nomination?
If you are on parole, for example, you are a state prisoner basically, but you are not in the cell, you are not in a prison camp. You've been released into the community, but that does not mean you are not a state prisoner. You are still a state prisoner. So you cannot contest the election. And the advice from Attorney General so far is that such citizens cannot be allowed to contest.
What about the omission or losing the putting photo blog or kind of in the forms that the candidate needs to fill, is that can be also affect a reason to reject this nomination or her nomination?
The commissioner has said we will accept all nominations with or without photos, for example. So, but we encourage candidates to supply all the required information. So, the Electoral Commission is not seen to be disadvantaging any candidates. For example, we have a poster that will go out, candidate poster, and every person on the candidate poster will have photographs. So the voter identifies the candidate of their choice, and then they make a vote. So it's to their advantage if they do not supply the photos, for example. So it's not, the Electoral Commission will accept the nomination, but without the photos. I mean, look at it. We have the nomination period is 7 days, 28 of April to the 5th of May. And then the Electoral Commission must then produce the candidate poster before candidates go out and do their campaign. Because it is only at that time when candidates will receive the order of the draw, how they appear on the candidate poster. They get their numbers, candidate numbers. So if you do not have your photo tied to your number, then you create a disadvantage for yourself as a candidate. It's not the Electoral Commission's fault. It's your choice not to have a photo. You didn't send one. So candidates, I encourage you to comply with the requirements that are in place. They're helpful for you. And when it comes to voting, your photos are in the voting compartment, and the voters have access to see you before they cast their ballot.
Candidate will be voted in, they'll be holding public office. And now, there'll be candidates who are public servants. Now, their criteria, rules, laws that is in place.
The Commissioner has already issued directions for the Electoral Commission to be consulting with other stakeholders to monitor the behavior of candidates. And some of the checks we're asking from the Office of Political Parties, for example, is that for candidates who are affiliated to political parties, parties must conduct checks on the candidates. So candidates who are then nominated, if elected, we do not want to run by elections later on. So we are encouraging political parties, for example, to screen their candidates and to ask for copies of resignation letter if that's necessary. And that must be produced. I mean, whether you are a public servant, you resign within the allowed 6 months or before that or after that, there must be some evidence that you have resigned. So yes, we are asking political parties to do that. For independent candidates, those are candidates who are not affiliated to parties, but they nominate as they want to contest the election. And as you said previously, the public have sufficient information to provide to the Electoral Commission to disqualify someone. They need to do that very quickly within this 7 days period. And we will refer that to the relevant authority, like the Attorney General, the Public Services Commission, Department of Personnel Management, the police force, and get the information sorted out, and so the law is applied correctly to a person that the information is relevant to.
That I'm now in that situation where I did not resign, or the process, the investigation, to that may not satisfy. Can I appeal that you make a decision? Can I appeal? Because we have an election in 7 days. Still within the 7 days. Can I appeal your decision?
There are what Mr. Kalamoro is trying to say is the process. It's the process that you should resign if you want to contest 6 months early. DPM put out a notice, say public servants, you got some few months before, and so it's a compulsory requirement for public servants to resign. But if they don't resign, that means they are public servants, so they have not resigned, and they have gone past the time of resignation. Now, somehow, they want to go and contest. And so when they want to go and contest now, we'll ask for requirements for the resignation. If they are not, then there's no law saying on the nomination requirements, say, you ask for certificates of so-and-so resignations. I think the Minister for Local Level Government Affairs came out clear for the council presidents. Obviously, this is a very important area. The councils and the presidents will now seek for open electorate seats. And so in that area now, we are asking for them to resign, obviously, because you're holding a political office where you are subject to the Ombudsman Commission under the Leadership Code. And for public servants, you are simply breaking the Public Service General Order. Okay, now there are two things about the public servants, the difference between these two. The public service is you taking the risk of your own employment. If you stay on and go over the mark and present yourself to nominate, you can nominate. We are not allowed to reject anyone, but when you want to go back to work, it is your own problem. Yeah. And with the LLG council votes and the president, councillors and the presidents, you are holding on to a public officer. According to their regulations, they say you must resign if you want to seek for open electorate seat. It is very, very important that all of us now to get ready. People who want to contest must get ready. There will be no last minute in anything that we do. Elections, there's no last minute. They cannot be change of time, change of date, change of hour. 28 April, 4 p.m. and 5th May, 4 p.m. is the close time. So all of those out there, all of us out there who want to contest and getting ready must get ready as of now. No, at the same time, I will already say that they've already, you are already ready. By now you should be already ready. There will be no last minute changes. So people have to go and start preparing to go to the bank and start getting the receipts, but they'll have to wait until that time. Political parties, we're saying organize yourself. If you're going to pay nominations for all the party teams, all of that, so yeah, time is short. But we have not faced any bigger problem in the past when we say 1 week nominations.
the pandemic COVID-19, Commissioner, as you concluded that whatever we do, nomination, we have to adhere.
COVID-19, in real terms, it has affected the country, and now we are delaying elections. Many people think that the Electoral Commission is at fault, or the government is at fault. It's good that you're asking that question. We say COVID-19, so every Papua New Guinean must know now. In 2019, 2020, what did you actually do? What have we achieved that time? We were under extreme fear. And so everybody was thinking of dying. No one did anything anyway. So we lost 2019, we lost 2020. Now, 2021 is rehabilitation time. So all of us are now beginning to rehabilitate. I don't blame anyone in here or anyone out there. Let's work together now, because we have rehabilitated enough. We know now we can manage the COVID-19. I think individually we know our health, we know how to manage that. But in terms of a real situation, there are protocols that we need to follow. COVID-19, the 5 do's and don'ts. Okay, in terms of elections, now we are prepared to buy those PPEs in all the polling places to sanitize. Person who is entering the polling booth must have a mask faced on the face, and also check the temperature. So those protocols are being carefully planned in the polling places. So, but with COVID-19, we have last time in the 2021 by-election in Moresby Northwest, we came up with a standard operating procedure. We call it SOP, and that procedures are those that information that we need to incorporate and work together. In that, the candidates were asked not to conduct, gatherings more than 100, and that those policies and those regulations are still there because it's an act of its own. So we have to comply, all of us, regardless. So all the candidates and everybody else in polling team, we are very mindful about that. And so we are also asking big rallies and all of that, if they want to do, they will have to get the permission from NCC, National Control Center, and making sure that in the name of election, we don't want many people die. So we are asking the people to strictly keep distancing, keep your masks on the face, and think about health. Think about health, because the COVID-19 is here and it killed some of the people, and we know that. So as a commission, we have taken into account that. So our teams and our controls is part of the team materials that will go with it.
And in addition to the COVID-19 protocols, we're also working with the National AIDS Council to distribute condoms across the country, starting with the nomination period, just to make sure people behave responsibly. So that's our collaboration with the Department of Health and the AIDS Council distribution, logistical issues. So if we can cooperate during this time, get them right into the villages, that's the reason to do it now.
Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner, we are almost ballot paper companies. No would be wrong, but if it is already delivered, what is the significance of the delivery of the ballot papers along country like Papua at this time as well?
Ballot paper, you have just asked the question at the right time. We have now officially got the documents signed and transferred the information from Australia to us. So we officially got the documents transferred to us, signifying ballot papers have now been officially given to Papua New Guinea. And so it is now with us, and the logistics team and the security team are all working on the next course of actions towards the preparations of dispatching, and along with other election materials. So it's part of the election logistic items now. So Papua New Guinea, our information now is yes, thank you Australia. Well, I have the opportunity to the Australian government through the Electoral Commission arrangements that were made under the what we call Zoom conferencing that made an impact on the assistance that we are getting from our Pacific friends and outside donor agencies. So the first of it is the ballot paper. And India has donated the indelible links, which we will be meeting next week, to deliver the indelible links and hand it over to us. So there are many things that is happening, and so with that, with the ballot papers on hand now, we are ready to run the elections. Okay, those ones. The confidence is that people have to have. We as a commission, we have experienced differently in the past. Like I said, we lost the preparatory years, 2 years gone, 2019, 20. 2021, all of us rehabilitated. Now is the time everybody's coming back to really normal activities, more or less close to. So in this period of time, we are also tasked to. It so happened that election is coming on. Election is coming on, so when you come to talk about the electoral roll, the electoral roll is it's not a new roll. It's the old roll we are maintaining. Old roll meaning the database, the current data that we have starting from 2017 to 2019. We are maintaining to capture the provisional voters, what we call, those who turned 17 or 18 to voting age this 2028, April 2022, April 28. Those are counted back to 3% of increased the growth rate. And so we have that number of already calculated into before giving information out. So many people think that we are doing a new role and think that we don't have a role to run election. Yes, they can think like that because they don't know what is happening here. What is happening here is we have a base role already. Now, the law requires us to update it, so we are updating it. And this updating is going on and almost complete now, so by next week, we should have been done with all the field roles. Teams went out starting January and February. Now March, we are doing data entry. By April now, we have been doing data entry in April. Now we're going to complete the data entry process. And so before 28, majority of the provinces will have by then finished with data entries. And on the 28th, we are comfortable to issue the writ because the roll will be ready. By then, we will now be going into the logistic dispatch and all that. So really, I want people to know that this election is different from the past elections. Elections this time is running within a very short period of time with many things to do. Yes, you can think like that election is not going to happen. But I want to assure all of us, the role is there already, we maintain it's complete. Election is happening in June. The role data that we are processing will eventually become available in May and before April and then to May. May, all the logistic things are going to be distributed, including the ballot papers and including the ballot boxes and plastic shields and team kits and all of those carton boxes and those voting compartments and all of those things are all in process now. So, and the government gave us 100 million and we are spending that money to purchase all of those within this time. And as soon as that has been done, according to our timeline, we only fall back on the roll a bit, but we are making time out. We are working 24 hours. Everybody is working on shift to make sure that this database is done in the next 2 weeks. And when it is done now, we're going to continue to work like that on the logistics, and we'll be dispatching all those stationaries and equipments back into the provinces and further into districts and LLGs and to council wards. Yeah, and so let's Papua New Guinea. Don't have some negative thought about these things. Let's not be negative. Let's be positive. If you're thinking about the role it's going to fail, no. If you're thinking about the Haro is not appointed, we mean to do that. So it's going to happen now, before the issue of it. If you think that there is no equipment, ballot paper is already there. We have ballot papers around, ballot boxes around the place. Australia is giving some more ballot boxes, and India is giving us the indelible inks, and we are purchasing the balance of those things, and we are engaging TEWs in the provinces. Election managers, their duty is to do that, and identification of arrows and arrows are already being done. We are going to gazette them before 28, and we don't want arrows to be appointed last year before. What will they do? They will do nothing, but they will only become vulnerable to some people. So we don't want to open that to the extent of the community. So we contain that, and within the framework that we have planned for the elections. Now, according to our plan, and Deputy and I and the directors and everybody else in the Electoral Commission, we have 4 elections. We just got the delivery of ballot papers. Now, tomorrow we're going to get the delivery of the indelible inks, and we're going to get delivery of all the ballot boxes and everything. So people, get back to your village and start getting ready to cast a vote. What I am doing here with the deputy here and the directors and everybody here, what we are doing is trying to help you, help the people, help you so you go and help us to cast the vote. The vote is not mine, it's yours. So what we are trying to do is we make sure that the process is being managed properly and the procedures are all contained within the context of law, and it's now brought back to you in the village, in your council ward, and the ballot box will come, ballot paper is going to come. No one is going to take that right out. We want to make sure that that comes to you. So let's not think about election is going to fail, or these 2 men are going to fail election. No, these 2 men, we know the elections, we are going to make it work. So you go and get ready. Don't think negative about these things. We are ready now to run elections. So those polling officials and everybody else out there who want to work with the commission, you have to come and join us with the team here. We have a straight conscience, and we have a duty to play, integrity to maintain the Electoral Commission, and the integrity of the election process, and the integrity of the democratic right. All of this we are trying to make available to all of us. So our appeal is for everyone to work together now. Let's not think and talk about negatives. Try to talk about positive things about election as well too, about running elections too. It's going to work. Let's not say it's not going to work. Who says it's not going to work? It's going to work. If somebody wants to say not going to work, come and tell me what is not working. Come to the office and say which part of the preparation is not working, so you are going to, it's not going to work. But it's going to work. People out there, let's get ready. Your ballot paper and your ballot box is going to come. You get ready to cast a vote. Okay, now, NBC, what we are doing, we are giving women the right to cast a vote, to have their own line in the polling booth. The men will have their own role, women have their own role. They're going to go and cast a vote in the polling booth. So we want to develop or present some sense of security in there. The integrity of the election process. The power of voting must be said and must be seen to be played by all the community, not just one faction, not just few people who manipulate the process. The women will not have their own. We have seen it in the by-elections now. They are really happy about this decisions we are making. So the role is being separated. The ballot papers are going to be separated, and the counting, and more women will be involved in the elections. And so in the enrollment data collection, a lot of women were involved. We emphasize more to involve more women. So because women is the developing team and equality in all the communities. Without all of us, nothing exists. So we have to respect to that effect and where it's due. So now, thank you for this opportunity you've given. And NBC will continue to talk about this. And John and I will continue to talk about this thing. We are running elections, and all of you get ready. And returning officers and AROs, we want to make the returning officer to look like he's not a team player in there. Excuse me. Returning officer, many people think that returning officer makes one win. It's not a returning officer, it's a process that makes the man win. If someone thinks that the returning officer makes somebody win, I think that's the wrong understanding, so don't take it wrong. This time, we are going to count LLG, biology, and the AROs are going to count. The returning officers will stand there and supervise. What will you do? So you don't take things wrong. Now we know where the system is working, how to control this poll. We are going to count from one team, for all LLGs, and then count to the last. Those are things that we are putting into place to control the system. So, and don't dispute a box. If you dispute a box, the ballot box is coming to your council ward. So if you want to dispute it, you are disputing your own council ward. You are not disputing the whole electorate. Don't forget. If you want to dispute it, and don't take it to the counting center because you are going to disturb the other voters' box. You dispute it there and hold it back, or they throw it away. Why you want to send it to the counting center and start wasting time? All of those things need to be understood. So now, let us not dispute, let us not fight, let us see the process work, all of us work together to make this election in a time like this where the COVID-19 is Papua New Guinea and everybody, the rest of the country and the rest of the world thinks we cannot do, we are not able to do. No, we are able to. We can do it. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you. Deputy.
New electorate, huh? You asked that question. Okay, 7 new electorates. Since independence, we never had open electorates, added open electorates to the current. I think this is the first time a boundaries report has been accepted and adopted by Parliament. And so we should appreciate the fact that that has happened. So we will try our utmost best to implement that. There are two things that is going to happen here. One, we are an implementation body. When it is certified and given to us and said, these are electorates, the Boundaries Commission is an organic law of its own. There's a commission of its own enacted by law, and there's a commission of its own. They made a decision. They did their work. It went to Parliament. Now the Parliament accepted it. The Electoral Commission will now have to implement it. So before, in the submissions, Boundaries Commissions are accepting those 7. We have been very, very careful about the distribution of the electorates. We wanted to work within the on an average view. PNGs, all the 89 electorates are all overdue for the redistribution. We need continue to hold a census to find out that fact. We use the 2011, and from the 2011 figures, the whole 89 electorates were qualified to have a separate open electorate, split them. But we prepared for the very, very highest populated areas. And so this 7, we worked within the LLGs. So some of the LLGs like Anglim Shatwagi has got more than 80, 90,000, one LLG. And in Talasia, Nakana has got over 100. It's just an LLG, it's not an electorate I'm talking about. So you look at that kind. And Kairugiri, Lagai Pogara, 140, 50. And so our electorates have grown. So I think it's the first time that we have come up with a boundaries that is accepted by the Parliament. So we are waiting for the Attorney General and the NEC Secretary to give us the certifications and GG to sign, gazette it. When it's gazetted, we'll implement. We'll do our best to implement, so it's within time. There will be no implications or problems in the boundaries. There must be one or two. Those are council votes that was cut into the new electorates. I think one is in Oro, Popondeta and Isbetare, and Bololo a bit. I think those are the only two areas, but otherwise everywhere else is just LLG boundaries. We're just shifting, so there will be no issue.